Hi everyone, how's it going? Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I have something really important I want to talk about, and that is the Iowa caucus. But first, a story. In 2016, our democratic process of elections was stolen and failed us twice. First, in the Democratic primaries with Hillary Clinton and the DNC actively working to undermine Bernie Sanders. And second, in the general election when Donald Trump used Russia to subvert our American election system and won the presidency for the second time in history. Not obviously not him, but where a president won fewer overall votes than the electoral votes. So, why is that important? Well, simply put, the Iowa caucuses are tomorrow. Now, the Iowa caucuses are the first set of primaries that happens in any sort of presidential campaign and nomination process. And it's a pretty big litmus test for the rest of the country. A lot of people don't really know how they're going to vote. There's also a lot of candidates that go into the Iowa caucuses, and not a whole lot survive. Now, why is that so important in the grand scheme of things? You know, most people aren't from Iowa. I live a little, I'm actually relatively close where I'm at. And also, what the hell's a caucus? So I'm going to start with the really easy ones, and that's what the hell is a caucus? A caucus is when a group of jackasses decide to stand in a room organized by another smaller group of more elite jackasses, and they say, okay, well, you're voting for this person. You go over here, you go over here, you go over there, and you go over there, for however many people. But it's just a bunch of people standing in a room. And at that point in time, then they try as best they can to estimate the size of the crowds. They don't count them. Like, they say, oh yeah, well, we count people. No, they don't. Anyone who tells you that is lying. And then they work their way up and they say, okay, well, we think this many percent of the people voted for or went to this candidate side. This many percent of the people went to this candidate side. However, they don't really give people ample time and sometimes large enough spaces to really make it implicit. I have actually been caucusing my state caucuses, and it's a pretty terrible experience. Just getting that out there. But why does this matter? Iowa only has 41 delegates in the nomination process. What even does a delegate mean? All of that kind of stuff. So in the grand scheme of things, those 41 is a very small number. Iowa's not a super huge deciding state at the end, but it is in the beginning, and it can really easily weed out candidates. So when you go to caucus, and I'm going to use a nice easy number, and I'll actually use the example from mine when I went to go caucus. We had 20 delegates that went to the state convention out of our it was to the city convention. I apologize. Out of our district in the city, then to the state, and then from there, or maybe it was county convention. I don't remember. But I went to a school. There was about 200 people there, 200, 400 people there, somewhere in between there. I know it's a pretty big range, but I don't remember. Again, they don't actually take tally. And we were told this was just for Bernie and Hillary in 2016. We were told one group stand over on this side, the other group stand over on this side. And it was absolute chaos. They gave us about 30 seconds to reshuffle until they said, okay, everyone stop. You're done moving. And then they kind of like rough estimated. And it was bullshit. Like absolute horseshit. Basically what happened is 90% of the people there were all about going for Bernie. Like that's what it happened. That's what the actual truth was. The other 10% were there for Hillary, and it was very obvious. But the organizers decided that that's not the case. That's not the case whatsoever. They gave 13 of the 20 delegates to Hillary and 7 to Bernie. very obvious subversion for anyone who was there. It was absolute horseshit. We all raised our voices, but it didn't do anything because organizers didn't care. There's no actual count taken. There's nothing. It's just you stand in a room looking like idiots, and it needs to stop. To be honest, But that's what caucusing is. It's inefficient, terrible. Really, why we do it doesn't make any sense. But okay, so what happened with that? So the Iowa caucus is tomorrow. At time of recording this, it's not quite midnight here, or in Iowa either. Nice thing about living next door. So, what happened with this, and why should you care? Yesterday, or last night more specifically, the Des Moines Register releases every year during a primaries run what is called the Iowa poll. The Iowa poll is a very historically accurate poll for how the Iowa caucus specifically is going to turn out. And why that matters. They also now are working with CNN and Pollster and Selzer. Why does that matter? Well, as I said, because it's so early in the race, there's a ton of candidates. The field is littered with candidates. Right now, there's 8. My bad. There's 8. There's Sanders, there's Biden, there's Buttigieg, there's Warren, Klobuchar, Yang, Steyer, and Gabbard. So there's still 8 candidates in the running. Likely after the Iowa caucuses are done, we're going to see 5 tops. And then New Hampshire goes, and then we're probably going to see 2 or 3. Like, it's just crazy how that works. Anyway, so that's absolutely a thing that you need to be, you people pay attention to, because it can determine who is going to stick in the running, who's not going to stick in the running, and it really can help. I shouldn't say help, but it can really shape the outcome of where things are going. So it's really important to watch. Now, what happened specifically is the Des Moines Register decided that they can't release the poll because of a question of the polling integrity from one of the one of the people who does the polls. They do polls through a number of different ways. They do polls through phone calling. They do polls through certain people that they know are registered can go online and vote, or they do in-person polling and stuff like that. It's not really a it's something where it's just a limited number. It's not like it's a whole state they ask, but they do enough of a wide variety that they actually get a really, really good idea of this. Excuse me. So what happened in that time period, or what happened with this, is Pete Buttigieg's campaign on Saturday discovered that during a phone interview, one of Buttigieg's supporters said, "Oh, I was never asked about Buttigieg." And now this wasn't on a Saturday call because they already had this data. Now they're just going through and correlating and aggregating it and trying to finalize it. But this was released from the Buttigieg campaign, and they started throwing their hands up. Now, something really important to understand about Pete Buttigieg. In Iowa, he's currently polling 4th, depending on who you ask. Either 3rd or 4th, really, really tough to tell. But basically the Iowa polling numbers are Sanders at the top, then Biden, then Warren, then Buttigieg. And Warren and Buttigieg kind of switch. It just really depends. So, with that, it's important, obviously, for Buttigieg that he stays in decent polling position if he wants to actually get a shot at the broader, nomination ticket. Because anyone who really polls below 10% in Iowa just kind of drops out. However, in the national arena, and this is why red flags are getting thrown up, Buttigieg is only polling at 6.7%. That's nothing. You can't even hope to win the general if you're polling at 6.7 in the primaries. There's no way. There's no way after primary voting has started. you need to be at least in the upper teens. Like, there's absolutely no way. So, here is the theory. There's two overwhelming theories, and it either was that yes, there was a data integrity problem, but it could be very easily for them to go through and re-aggregate that data. I've done data science in myself. A lot of that data they'll have stored off into like a database or something, and they can just say, okay, well, we're going to take out this set of data, give me back this other data, and still release a fairly decent poll. Or they're not using computers and they're just really dumb. Chances are that's not the case. The second possibility is that the Buttigieg campaign knew, and I want to remind you, Pete fucking Buttigieg, the guy who shouldn't even be running for fucking president. He's such a shill. Like, honestly, he goes through and he's like, well, you don't need, single payer health care because my plan for expanding Medicaid is aggressive enough. It's like, no, you don't. He's like, you don't need all this extra stuff that I do enjoy because I'm me, but you don't deserve it. Fuck you. No, I'm sorry, Pete. Get the fuck out of here with that capitalist bullshit. Anyway, my theory is along with the second camp, and that was that the Des Moines Register, CNN, or the Des Moines Register and CNN and Seltzer were getting ready to send out their polls, or this Iowa poll. The DNC got a hand of it, discovered that Sanders was winning, and winning by a very large margin. I'm talking like 30%, and Biden at like 20, like maybe 27 on Bernie at the lowest, but was winning Iowa by a very large margin. And they can't do that because Bernie is absolutely against everything the DNC stands for. Like, everything they stand for. And basically went through and said, okay, we need to stop this. We need to put these polls out. Because there's a lot of people in Iowa who go to caucus, and they're kind of confused, and they kind of use the Iowa poll to, kind of determine how they're going to caucus. Not the smartest thing to do, but it happens, and it's kind of what it is. But, we gotta be aware of that. And I think they were a little more than aware of that, to be honest. I think that they knew what was happening. And the DNC came through and they were like, you can't release this. And Des Moines Register and CNN were like, we don't care. We're going to release it anyway. And then someone somewhere got a hold of the Buttigieg campaign, and Buttigieg decided he needs to start throwing a shit fit because, of course, he does. He's a fucking entitled white boy. Like, I'm sorry, no. And decided that despite all of this, he thinks he still has a shot at the presidency, and his best shot was subversion and stopping people from understanding that Bernie was ahead. Now, what does all of this mean, and why should all of you care? This means, effectively, something similar that happened at Bernie in 2016 is likely to happen again. In fact, we know it's been happening. Look at the whole Warren scandal when, Bernie said a woman can't be elected president. But that's never actually been corroborated. It's literally hearsay. And it was an article published on someone that just started a rumor out of nothing with no evidence, nothing like that. And so they go through and they ask Warren, did you ever, ask Bernie, did you ever say that? He says no. And they ask Warren immediately after, how did you feel when he said that? Like, completely ignoring the fact that Bernie, who has a spotless record, I might add, and who has been on record telling girls of all ages that they can be, into politics, and that we would even deserve a woman president. Like, it's just so out of character for him. But the DNC has been working to subvert him. They have been working to basically counteract anything that he's been doing, and it's sad. It really is, and it really shows just how much they don't want him to win, even though he is the best candidate that we have. So further on that, so that's what's happening in Iowa. What can you do about any of this? You need to be hyperactive, and you need to be hyper aware, and you need to be checking for sources, and you need to be asking for those sources. As far as I know, they haven't released any sort of empirical information to indicate, yes, there was a miscalculation. Maybe there's something that's changed. I haven't been paying attention for the past 8 hours or 9 hours. I've been a little busy today, and I'll be looking into this a little bit more tomorrow when I get home. But there's a lot of questions around here. We don't know. Well, we don't know the full story, to be honest. Like, it's just kind of like, take us at our word, and no, I don't want to do that. So, with that being said, they should have released the poll on Saturday anyway and said if we did have an issue with the polling data, make it aware, make it out there, because it just doesn't add up. It really doesn't. So, with that being said, I hope everyone does. I hope tomorrow goes well for people who are caucusing. It's a tough time. So, stay strong. It's gonna be tough. All right, I'll talk to all of you later. Bye.